it is the day following that consequential visit, an official visit by a high-ranking U.S. official, no less a person than the Secretary of State in the United States, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, a prominent member of the Donald J. Trump administration. And I make mention of the official visit to Jamaica by Secretary of State Marco Rubio because, as listeners will appreciate, the United States and Jamaica have diplomatic relations that date way back. Indeed, there are a considerable number of Jamaicans who reside outside of Jamaica residing in the United States. And of course, many of us from time to time touch bases and connect with our family, friends and associates in the United States upon our visits to the United States. The US is is Jamaica's largest trading partner. We derive most of our imports from the United States. I think they're about 55% of our imports are derived from the United States, and I gather some 45% of our exports go to the United States. So in terms of a reciprocal trade relationship, the United States is by far our largest trading partner. We take quite a bit from them, and much of what we export out of Jamaica goes to the United States. And in relation to a number of areas of diplomatic relations and cooperation, particularly technical cooperation, yes, the United States and Jamaica have important, long-standing and enviable relations. So all in all, yesterday was a fantastic day for Enterprise Jamaica. We liquor, as we would say, but we're quite frankly tallow. We are a country that has come to be known as punching above its weight. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, having taken office in March 2016, having served a stint as chairman of CARICOM, you know they rotate the chairmanship every 6 months, yes? In fact, our Prime Minister here in Jamaica is set to assume the chairmanship of CARICOM come July of 2025. Yes? And so, having regard to his longevity in office, having regard to the degree to which he has distinguished himself, Prime Minister Holness has been emerging and has quite frankly emerged as one of the unmistakable and admired leaders in CARICOM. His leadership is unquestionable. He continues to distinguish himself among his peers in the pursuit of the collective interests of peoples of the Caribbean. Across the region, across the Caribbean that is, our interests tend to converge. Our values are essentially similar. And so we have some of the same challenges, some of the same aspirations, some of the same outlook, some of the same interests. And we coalesce as peoples of the Caribbean, and regional leaders like Andrew Michael Holness, Dr. Holness, continues to stand out on the global stage, on the hemispheric stage, on the regional stage, and provide sterling leadership. There are those who may be mesmerized by our Prime Minister. The Prime Minister for them may well be an enigma. You'll recall, listeners, that this official visit to Jamaica by a senior and powerful official in the United States government, no less a person than the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, comes against the backdrop of a lot of hysteria, a lot of disquiet, and a lot of anxiety. Anxiety born out of actions, particularly those touching and concerning tariff wars on the part of Washington and other trading partners of the United States, including, of course, Europe, Mexico, and its neighbor to the north, Canada. The United States government has expressed some views in relation to matters it describes as human trafficking matters. And this touches and concerns the export of labor, as it were, by Cuba, one of Jamaica's long-standing, faithful, venerable, and good friends, Cuba. So having regard to positions expressed or views expressed by Washington in relation to actions on the part of the regime in Cuba, the Cuban government, a lot of anxiety pervaded the space over the past 2 weeks. Indeed, a week and a half ago, essentially, there were some leaders around the region who, some would say, in a knee-jerk way, came out and spouted off views and comments in relation to what Washington ostensibly articulated. And there were many here in Jamaica clamoring, agitating, and asking the government, what is its position on Cuba? What is its position on Cuban health workers and whatnot? Yeah? Especially those who are in the Jim Jones crew, as Garfield Higgins would like to say. Anxiety, because there are some people to whom bravado appeals. There are some people to whom bombast appeal. And then there are some of us who can appreciate prudence, wisdom, diplomacy, and stealth. Andrew Holness is a gentleman who is in the business of playing chess. Other people, including other leaders around the region or across the region, may engage in playing checkers if they elect so to do. Our Prime Minister is not in a bravado chess-beating game. Other leaders across the region may elect to thump them chest, including a man who was in the departure lounge, Keith Rowley, down in Trinidad. There's a new Prime Minister for the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Stuart Young. And Keith Rowley, as the then Prime Minister in Trinidad, on his way out through the door, expressed some views regarding US visa and whatnot. In the world of global international affairs and global diplomacy, oftentimes states and leaders are not as far apart as one would think, or one may be led to think. In fact, sometimes all that is required is that dialogue, is that collaborative engagement. You consult rather than insult. You collaborate rather than frustrate or denigrate. Yes? And you respect, not genuflect. I'm going to repeat that one. Jamaica, in exercising its diplomacy, seeks to do our business in a way that exhibits respect We don't genuflect. It's very important. So for those persons who were anxious, and for some of them as well, motivated by their politics, were seeking to create hysteria around Cuban health workers and whatnot, the Jamaican government, and this concurs with a position I expressed elsewhere in radio when that question was put to me, the Jamaican government, in the exercise of its sovereignty and diplomatic relations, operates at all times with a degree of respect and understanding, and we do what we do as an administration in the best interest of Jamaica and its people. We are friends to the United States. We value our long-standing relationship with the United States. In as much as we are friends with Cuba, we love and value our long-standing relations with the people of Cuba, and we are very mindful of the sterling work and sterling support Jamaica derives from our brothers and sisters in Cuba in relation to health service delivery here in Jamaica. We have some Cuban doctors, and we have just about 400, I'm told, Cuban nurses, Cuban expats who are nurses deployed across our public healthcare sector. So there's no need for hysteria. There's no need for anybody to beat them chest and talk about visa and I'll be first in the line and whatnot. There are a couple of stories on the front page of the Gleaner this morning. In fact, the main story says, wholeness firm on Cuban doctors. Prime Minister defends use of medical missions. Rubio says exploitation concerns may not apply to Jamaica. Simple. Just hold your horses. Relax. Jamaica has elected a sober person as head of government. Allow that sober person to do what sober people do. Govern. And govern in the best interest of the country. Jamaica does not differentiate in how it pays Cuban doctors or nurses relative to any other doctor or nurse. We don't operate like that. We don't exploit people. We don't abuse people. That not in our DNA as a country. I don't know how our things set. And then there's another news story. Rubio to re-evaluate U.S. travel advisory for Jamaica. Essentially, the United States from time to time dispatches travel advisories as it is in its power to do, it is its prerogative to do, as it seeks to enrich its citizens with information and protect its citizens. Jamaica has had a history of violence. Jamaica has been making considerable headway in recent years in relation to the scourge of murder in particular and major crimes, other serious crimes. Yes? And this state visit by Secretary of State Marco Rubio to Jamaica afforded an opportunity for dialogue around a number of issues touching and concerning energy security, issues touching and concerning national security, issues touching and concerning tourism insofar as a travel advisory, and of course issues touching and concerning public health care insofar as medical missions from Cuba. So the good news for Jamaica is that the US has not given any undertaking vis-a-vis adjustments to its travel advisories. What they have undertaken to do is to revisit their travel advisory or their position relative to some further and better particulars that are emerging out of Kingston. So in other words, while we have historically had certain challenges, lot of violence, lot of murders and so on, to the extent that we now have a 35% reduction in murders, and this follows the 8% reduction in murders for calendar year 2023, then the 19% reduction in murders for calendar year 2024, And as the Prime Minister indicated yesterday, some 0.01% of visitors from abroad are victims of homicides here in Jamaica. 0.01%. That gives you a sense as to what happens in Jamaica as it relates to violence or the commission of murder relative to our visitors, including visitors from the United States. And so Jamaica, Kingston this morning, is pleased that pursuant to the indication given by Marco Rubio last afternoon that the United States government will be revisiting this issue of travel advisory, meaning an adverse travel advisory against Jamaica, having regard to information that it has now more fulsomely received as it relates to the management of the crime situation in the country. That's a step in the right direction, because we know how valuable our tourism product is to Enterprise Jamaica. We are up on here on the sound of New Start 93 FM. The program is Straight Up. I'm Marlon Morgan, and we are going to be facilitating your calls, listeners, at this time up to 10 o'clock when we will run to the NPR News. The numbers are 212-9824 or 462-0919. So we go to the phone lines. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Yes, sir, Mr. Morgan. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Sir. How are you?
Yes, sir. So, not too bad. So, Mr. Marco Rubio has taken Mr. Trump's card and put place before Mr. Andrew when it's on the table.
Mr. Trump's card?
Yeah, that's Mr. Trump's card he carried yesterday.
Well, unpack the card for us. What is the card you're referring to?
Pardon me?
Unpack that reference for us. What is the card you're referring to? What is the card that Marco Rubio placed in front of the government?
We know when American top-notch came to countries like Jamaica, they come in the hope that you will do their bidding.
Oh.
Or else. Am I right about that?
They come in the hope that you do their bidding. I see.
Pardon me?
I thought they came for bilateral engagement as it relates to areas in which the two states can heighten their cooperation and pursue mutual interests. That is my understanding of diplomacy.
Yes, that's the face that it, Mr. Malcolm.
Oh, that's the face. Well, tell me the underbelly then, no? Share with me the underbelly.
You and I know that based on how we structure economically, politically, and otherwise, regionally, security, and otherwise, we have to do their bidding.
Oh, I want to ask you this, Milton. Good. So I want to hear from you on this thing. If the Secretary of State of the United States descends on Jamaica's shores, carrying Donald Trump's card, and as you are charging, seeks Jamaica to do its bidding, for you, Milton, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Pardon me?
As far as you are concerned, I'm just setting up for you, precisely what you have placed on the table this morning, and I'm simply asking you, your reference a while ago to doing the US's bidding, I'm asking you, or I'm putting it to you, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
No, in our case, we're gonna eventually turn out to be the loser,
Oh.
Yes, you even take our equivalent dollar to the United States, because after this, technically, wholly and solely, our money was little and nothing,
Mm-hmm.
They have been exploiting us in our currency. Some people have treated as modern day slave.
So you believe that the US, the US exploits us?
Or something like that?
Hold on, Milton. You believe that the US exploits us in terms of our currency?
Pardon me?
You based on what you have said a while ago, sir, you are of the view that the United States exploits Jamaica in relation to our currency, the Jamaican dollar.
Yes, sir, because
how so?
Technically we have to depend on them wholly and solely, sir. I don't know how old you are, but in the 60s, early 70s.
Mr. Milton, I was born in 1983, sir.
So
watch me now.
I understand, but I understand where you are coming from now.
So watch me now. You see the business of dollar and so on? It falls to countries, their respective governments, yes, to manage the affairs of the country in a way that advances the interests of the people and advances the welfare of the country. You see, this business of preoccupying oneself with other people and imperialists or alleged imperialists and suspected hegemons, we would be better served getting our house in order.
Imperialist, you know, big man.
Huh?
I tell you, said the borrower will be the lender's slave. You refer to the word capitalist for whatever reason, right? And communists done with, you know that many of people are accused Russia of being a communist country and Russia is our enemy. Communists not in existence again, you know.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
So all I am saying, Mr. Marlon.
Communists in existence, sir.
Yeah,
North Korea, China, and so on. And Cuba, certainly.
Yes. But we mustn't talk as if it's one party responsible for the development of Jamaica. So we mustn't do that, you know.
We mustn't talk as if what?
We mustn't speak as if it's only one party, the party that we don't support. The party that we oppose.
Yeah, is responsible for what?
Responsible for the underdevelopment of Jamaica.
Oh, well, let me tell you what I am guided by. I take my cues from the literature, the quantitative and the qualitative data. And my preoccupation is what I have cited to you earlier this morning, which is, yes, it is important, it behooves a government to take responsibility, act responsibly, and maneuver in terms of its management of its country and its affairs in such a way as to do right by its people and stop harboring boogeymen in its head about other countries and whatnot. You will always have the vagaries of global politics and geopolitics in the world. We live in a community of nations.
I couldn't agree with you more, sir.
Okay.
But both sides of the fence, if we can put it that way, have been responsible over the years for mismanagement. I mustn't pin it on the party that we don't support, sir.
All right, watch me now, because I want to take you on that one. Watch me now, Sir Milton.
Pardon me?
Having regard to Marco Rubio's visit to Jamaica yesterday, what are some of the observations you take away? What are some of the points you
note? You want to go back to Mr. Rubio? I think we finished with that part a long time, sir. All I'm saying, sir, he came to put Mr. Trump's card on the table.
No, man, that's why I don't know what Trump's cards are, so that's why I can't preoccupy myself with that.
Anyway, the wonderful part, you mentioned something about the percentage of tourism that has been harassed or criminalized or something like that.
Yes, murder.
In comparison to the wider population.
That's correct, Sir Milton.
You know the reason why the wider population feel more than three-quarters of the pinch of the crime and violence and scamming and everything?
Why?
You know why? You and I know why, right?
But I have I surmise why, but I want to hear from you. It's your platform.
It came back to the mismanagement of Jamaica resources, you know. Taxpayers resources, you know, big time.
I see.
People feel frustrated. People not now go on for them. Somebody said something, I think it was Capri, that reputable organization, said sometime about that between 2009 and 2019. 340 billion Jamaican dollars were earmarked to target vulnerable youth and at-risk people in society, and most of it is not accounted for. Those money didn't spend downtown below Crossroad, right? In terms of economic demarcation. It's spent elsewhere. So people get frustrated, Mr. Marlon. So if we can tone down on the bias, the political bias rhetoric, I think that Jamaica would benefit more from that than anything else, you know.
Give me an example of the bias rhetoric that you're cautioning against.
Mr. Marlon,
yes,
we're not in school, sir. So we know that Jamaica has bias, right? If I don't support the party where you support and the party happen to form the administration,
all right,
I'm not going to get any benefit more than so.
All right, good. So watch me now, Milton, because one of the things I've detected in the conversation so far, right, is that you have very little time for the political biases and whatnot, for example. Yes?
Just little voice a little for me now.
Oh, I'm saying you have very little time for political bias and whatnot. Now, the idea is this. When people place on the table critique of a political party that they do not support, for example, and that critique is buttressed by empirical data and facts, for example, is that something you frown upon?
All I'm saying, Mr. Morgan, you suppose me tell you right in the constituency where I'm speaking from, you see?
Yeah.
There's a public road work in progress, and most of the young men, because most of the young men are signed it, they have on the Labour Party jersey, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Sewell is to be the member of Parliament for issue of St. Andrew. Right now, if you see them on the road, most of them, and I say all, most of them have on the Labour Party jersey, you know, with plain right JLP and the MPs thing on it. Remember, taxpayer money is being spent, you know.
You know what I heard in a video? You know what I heard in a video recently? Mrs. Otis made the point.
Rally, you know, so you have to have something different. I tell you.
Milton, just allow me. I'm saying something, so that I'd like for you to allow me. In a video on social media in recent days.
Comment on what I say about
hold on, man. I am saying what I'm saying to comment on what you're saying.
Marlon, you know what? You don't mind if I stop the conversation now?
Yes, man, I would very much mind, because you placed something on the table a while ago, and I am venturing to say something now, and I will touch and come back to what you placed on the table.
No, man, that's all right, man. Both of us have different agenda, you know, politically, so it's better we end the conversation now. And thanks for listening so far, sir.
You can go ahead with some more, Milton. So since you don't want that point, go ahead with some other observations.
No, Mr. Marlon.
All right.
No, Mr. Marlon. You see your agenda, sir.
Oh, you see my agenda?
Hopefully for the benefit of Jamaica, for the good and benefit of Jamaica, it won't work out, sir.
I see.
Thank you.
I see, Mr. Milton. Well, Mr. Milton.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man. All the best, my brother. Good. Thanks for calling in. Anyway, just to apprise Milton and other listeners, I happened to come across a video from his Member of Parliament, Juliet Holness of St. Andrew East Rural recently, where she made the point that some road work was going on, a contractor mobilized in her constituency, and she didn't see any person from the community on the road work. And she stopped to ask the contractor what was happening, and the contractor was making the point to her that they were struggling to find people, and people were saying that they're tired, and she made the link to what is happening in the country as it relates to full employment, basically. In other words, people can pick, choose and refuse work now. Unheard of in Jamaica, Milton. Unheard of. I gather we have another call on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Good morning, Mr. Morgan. How are you doing?
Morning, sir. I'm good. And you?
All is well?
Well, I'm fine. Yes, man. All is well with me. How are things with you?
Mr. Morgan, this is St. Catherine South, you know. Things is good.
Very well, sir. What causes things to be good with you this morning?
Well, after listening to the debate between Jamaica and the British, and everybody who participated in the referee said that Jamaica win by a mile.
Oh, you mean all the commentators who have assessed the budget debate and considered the arguments put forward by the respective sides?
Yes, Jamaica win by a mile.
Very well.
And you know the debate was between
Jamaica and Britain, you say?
Yes, you know that.
Well, I understand where you're going with that. I mean, given Julian's association with the UK and Mark Golding's association with the UK.
Yes. As Mr. Hughes was saying on his video and his show there, the worthless pooper. I'm just quoting Mr. Hughes. The worthless pooper, Mark Golding. You refer to him as that, the worthless pooper, don't? I beg your pardon?
Yeah, man, I guess, yes.
Yes, the worthless pooper. Imagine, it's just like when you're at school and you're copying, you know, and you don't know what teacher put on the board. So you have to wait till all the other rest of students are finished putting their work, and then you ask one of them, what happened? What happened? Is that how the British leaders called conference yesterday, and put forward? He waited till all Mr. Robinson, Miss Fable, and the most honorable put in their work. He started to copy.
So just to think of it, Southern Catherine, how do you view the whole notion of having missed the substantive budget debate, which presents an appropriate forum for you to lay out your store, set out your policy proposals, and provide the appropriate costing, because that, Southern Catherine, is what would demonstrate that it is credible. How do you view the opposition having missed that opportunity, but instead elect to attend upon a press conference the day after the budget debate closes to do the very same thing that they elected not to do while the budget debate were in a keep?
Mr. Marlon.
Yes, sir.
When you were going to school as kids, and your last lick, everybody want to do the last lick.
I remember the last lick, yes, when...
At that, Mr. Colina catch up with the last lick. Him no rate black people, because alright, you was looking at him the other day when he stood up in the parliament and on a point of order.
Yes, and I saw the point of order, yeah?
Yes, and how the other side was laughing at him. Even his side was laughing, And boy, I don't know. He must be ashamed of himself, I'm telling you.
Well, he stood on a point of order, sir, and asserted that the finance minister was misleading the House.
Yes. Still on a point of order. Anyway, Mr. Morgan, you're doing a good job, and you take care of yourself. And we are ready anytime you guys are ready. We're on the ground.
All right, duly noted, Southern Catherine. Take care of yourself as well, sir, and the people in and around your community. Good. Thank you. We have phone lines available. Callers 876-212-9824. There's also 876-462-0919. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Good morning, Marlon.
Morning.
Yeah, this is Country Boy.
Very well, the famous country from the diaspora. What's on your mind this morning, sir?
Yeah.
Or you want to start with the shout out to Damien Crawford?
Yeah, I'm glad you remember me. Good morning, Damien Crawford.
Very well.
In Northwest St. Catherine, and morning to his two councillors in Lindsay, Councillor Garrett and Councillor Rose.
I want you big up the people in Ty Dixon as well.
No, favor abandon Ty Dixon.
No, man, we never talk about favor. I was suggesting to you to big up the people in Ty Dixon.
I am bigging up the people in Northwest St. Catherine.
Very well. All right, we're going this morning in our country.
What is the purpose of the Secretary of State visit?
All right, good question. The United States and Jamaica have diplomatic relations that date back several years. The United States is a valued partner of Jamaica. Yes, there are issues of energy security generally, and thus deepening diplomatic ties that are of strategic importance to both Washington and Kingston. Yesterday saw a state visit, an official visit rather, by the Secretary of State to Jamaica, and among other things, it afforded an opportunity for important high-level dialogue where concerns or issues pertinent to both cities, Kingston and Washington, would have been placed on the table, so much so that we have what we have this morning on the front page of the Gleaner. Yes, the US, among other things, has signaled that it will be revisiting this business of travel advisories, and the US has appreciated the clarification provided by Jamaica, but also underscored that Jamaica was not one of those regimes it considered as essentially having, been exploiting Cuban medical missions.
Right, I don't believe none of those things that you listed out is the purpose of the Secretary of State.
Well, share your understanding. What do you believe was the purpose of the Secretary of State's visit country?
I believe it has something to do with China, Venezuela, and drugs.
Drugs, I see. All right. Do you appreciate country?
You don't believe somebody in the government is fear of losing their visa, their diplomatic visa.
Country, if there's somebody in the government who is in fear of losing their diplomatic visa, neither you nor I wouldn't necessarily be seized of that. Yes? But what I'm putting to you now, in the community of nations and how diplomacy works, do you appreciate that there are issues that are hammered out at a high level that respective countries would treat with based on the interest of their country and people? Do you appreciate that as a scenario?
Yes.
Very well. Do you appreciate...
My second point, no.
Okay.
I'm finished with that. My second point. Your finance minister, Miss Williams, she demonstrated $2,000.
You're a Parishina.
To buy car.
She did what?
$2,000 could put away to buy a car every month.
She said pay down on a car. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Right.
What's wrong with that?
And then she comes said, but $2,000 cannot pay down on car. 3 months, if you multiply 3 years, you get $72,000. That can pay down on
Well,
car.
first of all, it is not $72,000 because the totality of the relief will be well in excess of $72,000 over 3 years. It is 2,000 something in the first year. It goes up to 4,000 something in the second year, and I think it's just under 5,000 in the third year. Yes. So when you aggregate that, it comes up to more than 72. But the point, the substantive point is not to be overlooked, country. The substantive point is that in relation to the relief that Jamaican workers who benefit from this income tax threshold increase would now receive, they can basically just set aside that money and don't even trouble it and just make it stay over there so and go and accumulate because they were not getting it before.
Inflation is going up. Inflation is at all-time high.
Inflation, sir, I don't know what obtains in Canada. Trudeau may have caused you to be disoriented. But here in Jamaica, inflation is not at an all-time high. Say again?
Sir, I am in America.
Very well, very well. So watch me now. You may be disoriented based on the cost of eggs and all kinds of what's it not in the United States and the things that you guys in the US have been complaining about. However, that has not been the case in Jamaica. Our inflation, country, continues to come in, thankfully, on the lower end of what is called the targeted inflation band, i.e. the range of 4 to 6%, the very range that is targeted by the Bank of Jamaica, our independent central bank.
Here a minute, sir.
Sure.
Egg moved from $1,100 last year to $1,400 and going 1,500.
Do you appreciate in Christmas time that the demand for eggs for baking and other things surrounding the festive season generally causes the cost? So the tray of egg, as you say, used to retail for $1,100 and then it retails for $1,400. No, sir?
Right? No. This present moment.
Yeah, because I gather there are some shortages with respect to eggs.
Your minister said 1 cocoa field basket. That is a saying where people used to keep poor people down.
Oh, so you don't see the
a
concept.
phrase to keep poor people poorer and poorer. Because as a farmer, if you have your field and you're picking one grain of coffee, you will never have a box.
Well, first of all, country, when you have proverbs, you have to be careful how you apply a literal, yes, a very literal application of it. The concept of accumulating things over time because it all adds up is what is not to be overlooked here. So not literally one cocoa, because one cocoa does indeed fill basket. Yes, but the broader concept. Don't focus on the literal stuff, although it makes sense in both the literal sense and the figurative sense. Focus on the concept of accumulating over time. Though each unit being accumulated may be small, it does add up. That is the substantive point, sir.
Get it real. I am a countryman. $2,000 saving up. Inflation is going up. Flour going up.
I read out the figures, you know. I read out the figures. In 2012, the folks who you support, they increased the minimum wage by $500. And in 2014, they increased it by $600. You understand that?
In 2015, what was the minimum wage?
The minimum wage in 2015. I'll have to go back to this quickly. But I'm up on the break, country. I'm gonna go to my break. You can call back at 10:30. But at some point in the program, I'm going to read out for the listeners the movements in the.
I'll catch you next week.
All right, catch me next week, Wednesday, sir. Good. I'm up Marlon Morgan, and in this segment, we're going to be joined by Aswad Morgan, my namesake, because all things Jamaica is in the spotlight as we talk about Expo Jamaica 2025, which will be happening from April 3 to April 6. So that's essentially what? Saturday, April 3 through to April 6. Now, as I said before, we have the pleasure of being joined by Chairman Aswad Morgan, who will be presenting some insights as to how Expo Jamaica will showcase the island's rich culture, innovative industries, and seek to foster global partnerships. Now, with a strong focus on sustainable development, technology, and economic growth, Mr. Aswad Morgan will reveal what attendees can expect from this major international export. So, without further ado, we say good morning to you, sir. Aswad Morgan, welcome to Straight Up.
Morning to you, Mr. Morgan, and your listeners. And you know, we're very excited about Expo Jamaica 2025 and what we have to showcase this year. Terribly excited. It's, as I said, it's April 36th. As early as Monday, all the exhibitors will start to descend on the national arena and the indoor sports center to start constructing and setting up their booths. And you know, by Thursday morning, both venues will be transformed. So what we expect to be a spectacular showcase of all things Jamaica and what Jamaica has to offer to our local sector and to the rest of the world.
All right, this will be the in terms of return, this will be what staging?
Well, since we restarted in 2004, we've had the show for every 2 years, and of course we had a break during COVID, and of course we came back last year, 2023. And here we are.
Okay, so it's quite a number of stagings you've had over the years. All right. What particular are you looking forward to in this 2025 staging, having regard to where Enterprise Jamaica is, and of course your partners, the persons who will be strutting their stuff at Expo 2025 in terms of entrepreneurs and business leaders and innovators?
Right. So there's always a lot of new features and new things to look forward to the show. We have quite a few of our repeat exhibitors coming. This year, one big standout for us is the number of buyers that we expect to come into the show this year. And I got a quick update this morning, and then we're now up to a little over 700 buyers, a mixture of local and international buyers coming from all corners of the globe. A platform where we set up here for Expo Jamaica is really to allow and to expose our local buyers to as many local suppliers, and to as many international and local buyers as possible. So what we try to do is to create that perfect platform for them to all meet and of course at the end of the day hope that we will get some significant sales and certainly ultimately export sales. So with so many buyers coming in, we're very, very, very excited, and our exhibitors are ready and raring to go. A lot of new sectors that we're hoping to expose. From people like from the CMOS in industries, castor oil, a lot of course from the nutraceuticals. Hopefully we have some furniture people there. There's bedding, there's uniforms, there's the chemical people. You name it, they're there. And a lot of smaller manufacturers will be there, featured in what we call our GEMS village in the indoor sports center. Those ones taking a first try at getting their new businesses started. So again, it's just a lot of from a wide cross section of industries.
All right, we'll continue. Go ahead, sir, Aswad.
We have a lot of new countries that are participating this year. From Ghana, we have buyers coming in from Oman and from Germany that have shown great interest in the show.
Yeah. All right. And in terms of persons who seek to have exhibits, when did you put out the call for proposals or requests to participate in the expo? And are persons able to do so at this late stage, or would you say you would have closed off by now?
So our hardworking committee, we get together as early as far back as a little over a year ago. We sit down and we every Friday morning as a team we start the planning. We start to attack the buyers committee in conjunction with Jampro, who head up our buyer recruitment program, and we've been soliciting exhibitors maybe as early as 6 months ago. So
I see.
We're at a point now where we're pretty much fully booked.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, we're fully booked. And, there's a lot of preparation that goes into a show like this. It's massive.
Yeah. And tell me something as well. As far as testimonials may go, and I suspect you may have a lot of repeat participants over the years, persons who would have attended up on Expo at, a particular iteration and then elect to do so in subsequent iterations. Give us a sense as to what that bit of experience has been like and the degree to which you have had testimonials from our entrepreneurs, business players indicating that, listen, export was really worth their while because they saw, increased traffic to their business in X or Y regard.
I don't think we can get a better testimonial than the number of repeat companies that continue to show us a great interest in exhibiting at the show.
Yeah.
There are some well-known companies that continue and have continued and certainly have never missed the staging of such a show and make their commitments from 4 to 6 months ago to book their spaces. All of these companies put out a significant amount of cash resources to invest in the marketing of their products and companies at this show. I don't think you can get a better testimonial than that. A lot of them would have had told us that for shown that they have gotten a number of key export buyers at the show. And I can't imagine that this year is certainly going to be a lot better. We last year we were just over 500 buyers, and to really we expect to see a lot more this time around with the 700, and expect that we're going to get a lot more of a lot more business coming from that.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of where Jamaica is at, in terms of the economic environment, what do you look forward to in terms of Expo's role and the role of MSMEs in particular in terms of the broader enterprise that we have here, Enterprise Jamaica, coming out of Expo or as a result of Expo's contribution?
Well, as a Expo Jamaica is put on by the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, and we have a very key role to play in one, just for our membership, of course, and for Jamaica ultimately. And there's no better place than a trade show. Expo Jamaica has certainly grown significantly and is certainly the largest trade show in the English-speaking Caribbean. And with all of what has been happening, I would say over the last few months, we know what's going on in the US. And we're hoping that we're going to get some positives out of this by putting our companies out there. There's a lot of changes that are going to happen, and we're seeing a lot of changes regionally. And we're just hoping that once our companies are showcased there with the interest shown from the buyers, we're going to learn a lot over the next few days, certainly when the show starts, as to where and what these buyers are thinking. They may have to bypass certain countries to come around to us, and we're just hopeful that things will kind of, once the dust is settled and having showcased these companies, that it's going to work out in our favor. But whatever it is, we have to make ourselves visible. Each and all these companies have to make themselves visible, and we commend the companies for sticking their head out, of course, and recognizing that we can't sit back and just hope and look for people coming to us. We have to really push ourselves out there, and that you'll see over the next few days starting April 3rd.
Indeed, because as you have said, Aswad, while there's a degree of, topsy-turvy kind of engagement happening outside of Jamaica's shores, north of us, we know that some of the issues going on in terms of tariff wars, for example, may create opportunities, may present opportunities for Jamaican exporters in particular, to the extent that our products may be cheaper relative to that of others on whom the United States, yes, may levy considerably higher tariffs. So it would be important for some of your exhibitors from Expo and MSMEs across the board, players in the members of the JMEA, to look to those opportunities further afield.
Yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on. And once the opportunities are there, I'm sure our local exhibitors will be right there to take advantage of it. And we just have to go for it. It's a lot of uncertainty, but we have to do what we have to do to put ourselves out there.
And in terms of
up and be counted, eh?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And in terms of sponsorship, entities, your partners who play a huge role in making this happen. Speak to our listeners in that regard, the corporate engagement that you have over the years, and for this staging.
We would have mentioned earlier about the number of repeat exhibitors that continue to show an interest in Expo Jamaica. And what is even more heartwarming is the number of sponsors who have continued to stick with us over the years, and a number of new sponsors, and the list is quite extensive. And I'm with a fear of not leaving out anyone, but some of our main sponsors in Bank of Nova Scotia, CNS, NCB, Grace, JPS, Access Financial Services, Jampro as one of our key partners for our buyer recruitment program. We have, I don't want to leave anybody out at all. Digicel are going to be providing a number of their solutions for Expo Jamaica. We have, the list is so extensive.
Yes, we have quite a number of renowned and valued corporate partners and sponsors over the years, and certainly for this year's staging.
Absolutely. What I use the opportunity to point out, though, is while the show starts on the 3rd and ends on the Sunday, the 6th, the first 2 days we're going to be dedicating to what we call our Buyers' Days. Just only registered buyers will be allowed to come into the event.
So on the Thursday the 3rd of April, and Friday the 4th?
Right, more B2B type of approach that we're using. Show starts at 10 and goes on till 5 on Thursday. We have an opening ceremony. We expect the Prime Minister and other key persons to attend.
Well, when is that? That is when?
On Thursday.
On Thursday. That's okay. At what time?
The opening ceremony.
Okay, when you're opening the expo. Right. All right.
Official opening.
And for the benefit of my listeners as well, who may not be apprised as to what B2B denotes, when you make mention of the buyer's days, you're speaking of large customers, so business to business. That's what B2B denotes. And for the Thursday and the Friday, you're saying it's business to business. These large customers who are business operators interfacing with other business operators.
Right. Those persons would have gone through a registration program.
Yeah.
And they were all designated buyers, and they come in on those days. So expect to see a lot of hoteliers, persons from the local supermarket trade, pharmacy owners, gift shop owners, and a number of other entities who have an interest in the exhibitors that will be there. And we'll again on Friday go up until 5 o'clock for the Buyers' Days. And then we open to the general public at 5 o'clock on Friday. For 3 hours. We go until 8 o'clock in the night. And of course, on Saturday and Sunday, we open to the general public. At this time, we certainly would encourage all Jamaica to come and view again what Jamaica has to. This is really going to be the best of what Jamaica has to offer. And this show opens at 10 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday, and we go up until 8 o'clock on each evening. I will also encourage persons to use our park and ride. We're gonna have park and ride facilities at
the arena.
Not at the arena, but the park and ride facilities are going to be supported by one of our key sponsors, the JUTC. They're going to be using their fancy buses.
The premium buses, yeah, the premium
buses at designated locations at East King's House lawns by Jamaica House, and of course we have another at the NHT parking lot in New Kingston. The buses are going to be carrying our patrons back and forth. It's going to be very well supported by the JUTC. They run a very good program. And for persons who are coming from out of town, one of our sponsors, Knoxford Express, is going to help facilitate bringing people into Kingston from out of town and back home safely. Right? Yeah. But Park and Ride facility is going to be a very key platform for us, and we're looking forward to that. We're supported by the JCF, supported by.
Yeah. All right. And in terms of discounts that patrons are likely to get, because at Expo, participants would usually want to push items and offer little inducements for persons to transact business with them. So you trust that some of the exhibitors will be having, useful and attractive discounts and concessions on their goods and services?
Absolutely. Yes, it is certainly an opportunity for the exhibitors to not only showcase what they have new, but I'm sure a lot of them are going to be selling their products. And so it's a really great opportunity for the patrons coming in to test, to buy, to really learn a lot about what we as exhibitors are offering. And I really encourage everybody to come out and support the show.
All right. Just remind our listeners, when is Expo 2025 and the cost of, what do we call it, admission as it were?
Yes. All right. So I would encourage persons to go to our website at jmea.org/Expo Jamaica. They'll be able to go online and buy tickets. There are tickets for adults, for children, but you can go to the website and get all the details there. The show starts April 3rd and goes on to the 6th. We're open to the general public from Friday afternoon at 5 until 8, and then we continue from 8 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday, April 5th and 6th. Great event. Great use of the park and ride facilities that we have set up. It's going to be very efficient and on time, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody come out to the show. Best of what Jamaica has to offer.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much. We trust that you will realize every success on this year's staging of Expo, and that the JMEA and indeed all the exhibitors will have a fulfilling and rewarding experience as you guys seek to play your part in making Jamaica a prosperous space and provide jobs for people, help generate revenue in the country that helps to in turn run this country of ours. Mr. Aswad Morgan.
Absolutely. And again, I just encourage the listeners to go to at Expo Jamaica on social media, and you continue to see a lot more updates as we go along, and a lot of the companies being featured, a lot of the products being featured, so you know exactly what is going on. A lot more about our park and ride and other features of the show. There's going to be a lot of food available, and you see who our sponsors are and all of what they are offering.
So let's come and check it out. That's the key word, the key message for the listening public. All right, thank you so much. That was listeners, Mr. Aswad Morgan. He is the chairman for Expo Jamaica 2025. He is a Jamaican businessman and the chairman and CEO of the Morgan Group of Companies. Thank you so much, Sir Morgan.
Thank you very much, and you have a good one.
Very well. All right, that brings us to the end of this segment. We're going to go to the break and come back. Listen, tune to Straight Up here on News Talk 93 FM by Marlon Morgan, and we are running back to the phone lines. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, my brother.
Morning. This sounds like John. How are you?
Yes, it is.
Very well.
What I was wonderful press conference yesterday.
Oh.
We debunk the lies of the surrogates of the Jamaica Labour Party.
Oh.
You know what is so good about this press conference?
Mm-hmm.
It goes to show that 2.6% of the national budget will be used to refurbish one hospital, while only 1.8% of the budget will be used to uplift hundreds of thousands of Jamaicans from the present situation. You know, and one thing that we truly understand.
John.
No, but let me finish. One thing I try to understand, with some people who are opposing the feeding of hungry Jamaican children. Why is it? Why is it that people are opposing the Jamaican Labour Party?
All right, tell you what. I want you to discuss something else with me for a particular reason. There's a particular event that is being put on by the Department of Economics, one of our sister departments here on the Mona campus, late this evening. Let's follow me. Let's listen to me carefully. Let's listen to what I'm saying. The Department of Economics is facilitating what it dubs a forum on the budget. Julian Robbins of the PNP will be a participant. You just whether me original hot and spicy.
No. I'm saying something.
My friend, I want you to listen to what I'm saying, and then you will come back. I don't want us to speak at the same time. You notice you spoke some things earlier. I listened, and may I speak some things now. There's that event that is happening later, and I'm not going to telegraph any observation of mine in relation to this budget beyond anything I would have said so far on this program. I am keeping certain cards right in my pocket for when I engage with Julian Robinson later this morning. Because to use one of your words, John, listen to me, because I'm going to be using one of your words, and I want you to repeat it when I'm through. It will be Hunkus Panwa.
Oh, yeah, what is them?
No, man, just tell me what the word is. All right, then, that is it. So,
what's the problem with me, my brother?
Yeah?
Is that when I saw the original poster, you weren't on it. And then when I see it again, I saw you come through it. What does Marlon Morgan knows about economic come talk rubbish?
All right. So, you make sure you're in attendance later.
No, I'll be here physically, but I will be on.
There's a particular DJ who was asked where him know, and he said to do something, and he will tell you what him know. So quite frankly, what I know will be telegraphed and articulated in a few hours from now. I would urge you to stay tuned.
I will be feeling so sorry for you when Julian does it. Anyway, let's move on. You know, yesterday's visit by the Secretary of State
of
America.
Yeah.
You know, I see where you're making out to be one of the best events ever happened.
Yes, man, absolutely. Our Prime Minister, our head of government was large and in charge.
No, what it shows us is that whatever was discussed, what was being said in the press conference was something that could be said anyway for a Zoom meeting or a telephone conversation. The true thing that Robia came here for. You tell Andrew Owen, drape up Andrew Owen.
Yes.
This coldness with these Chinese is not standing well with the United States. You allege corruption or corrupt acts. You know what I mean?
John, yes, in the world.
I said alleged corrupt acts.
Yeah, man.
Is not standing well with the United States.
All right.
He is the thing that Robio coming here for. No. Travel advisor and they go rubbish.
All right, so
we know all of them got talk on telephone. We know that what Robert means. Let him say that this thing
John, you're telling me that some people in Jamaica are having a meltdown about Rubio's visit?
No.
You're telegraphing?
No. What it shows is that because Rubio knows the input. If you go Barbados and talk to in Barbados. You know, they don't not at all when talk about to those leaders about. We know saying she would stand up to him. I'm not going to watch her. Big man that is a comedy, the back company, you know. But because Andrew is penniless.
Oh.
He's a jail back in a week.
Let me say this.
International relations man. But I remember the last time in the United States, you know, he sat at the back door. Donald Trump
at the side door and the under door. Watch me now. I'm going to ask you to pause. I'm going to ask you to pause now because I'm going to be saying some things now.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, my brother, it could have been the side door, the under door, or the round door. That matters very little. Let me tell you what matters. Jamaica is a sovereign state. Jamaica is a friend to many states around the world. We pursue relations, yes, bilateral relations with China. We pursue relations with Cuba. We pursue relations with the European Union and a host of other friends of Jamaica around the world. Now, you can speculate from where you are ensconced on Old Hope Road as to what the nature of Rubio's visit was. As far as we know, yes, governments have diplomatic exchanges. Some of them will be divulged to the public, and there may be other things that are not divulged. That's just the world of global democracy, diplomacy.
By the way,
yes, sir.
Why was it that the former ambassador to the United States who ran out of America after Trump win? Why wasn't she present at the meeting? Why?
The former ambassador who ran out of America?
Yeah, no one kicked out of America. We know she was kicked out because of her endorsement.
You're saying Audrey Marks. You're saying Audrey Marks.
She was kicked out of America.
You're referring to the former US ambassador to Jamaica. So
no, she was kicked out of America because of her coziness with an endorsement of Kamala Harris.
John, stick up in. Audrey Marks served for quite a period as Jamaica's ambassador to the United States. She was ensconced in Washington, working on behalf of the people of Jamaica and the government, advancing our interests. Her tour of duty has come to an end, and we have another ambassador in place in Washington. You can fabricate and speculate and try to disparage by saying who was kicked out and because she did what, and you know those things are just in the realm of speculation and propaganda talk.
No.
But what I'm going to say to you, what I'm going to say to you now is that there are some things, John, that have to be kept at the level of the veranda talk at 89. You can't come on national radio to say so, because you have no evidence or no information to suggest that.
Yes, we have the evidence. Donald Trump, anybody.
I'm going to ask you because you're entertaining probably some of the guests, some of the listeners.
Everybody who was cozy to Miss Kamala Harris And when Kamala Harris, when Donald Trump become president recently, they move them up. They don't want them there. So how is it that she just leave America? She's supposed to be a part of this planning for Mr. Rubio to come here. And if she was president at that meeting, something not look right. We know that we're not idiots. But my brother, I am happy. What I'm hearing on the ground is that people in Jamaica, almost every sector, have endorsed Mark Golding's proposal to lift hundreds of thousands of people from the conservation.
You mean an uncosted? You mean an uncosted plan?
No.
That would
We
essentially
outline the cost.
You mean,
that is probably what the problem is. When I do something, you don't talk about the cost. But when to the uplift Jamaican people talk about cost, the Jamaican people.
So John, I've heard saying this.
The MP
the thought.
will not win more than 24 at any sport.
All
Mark my
right.
word.
So your word is noted, right? But watch me now. Watch me now. A budget, as is the same with a manifesto, commitment, or promise, is only as good as the degree to which it is credible, bankable, achievable, and sustainable.
My brother,
Yes.
I really admire you because you are just showing us something that was said in 2015. That 100 days what happened. I don't know, but even one of them have come true. So, big up, friend. I might call you tomorrow if I'm available.
No, man, please, well, I'm not going to be on tomorrow, but what I want you to do is attend upon the UA Library this evening for
I will be there.
Forum.
I will be there to see. I will be on to see Julian Rabbit with this bank with
you. Dream. I guess we are queuing up to go to another call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up. All right, while we try and sort that out, I was thoroughly entertained by John as usual in that call just now. We know from whence John comes. He makes his plug, but the caution I was making is that I don't think that it is everything that makes for good social media talk and veranda talk that should find itself situate on a forum such as this, certainly national radio. And so speculation about, an ambassador being kicked out when that is just clearly baseless and unfounded, it's just, beyond the pale. But alas, we get things like that from John. And my own view is that what he doesn't score his political party any points. If nothing else, it is an irritant to listeners and certainly people who are sober and are discerning in this country of ours. John is more of an irritant than someone who would really be scoring any serious points. Anyway, we run to another call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Morning, Mr. Marlon.
Hi, morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, what I want to talk about today is margarine, first of all. Margarine. What we use and call it butter. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, man, I'm hearing you loud and clear, caller.
Yeah. Well, a lot of research now, proving that before margarine, autism was at a very low level. But since we started using a lot of margarine, they have found out that autism has reached a very, very high level. And I think that is something that we need to stop and see if there's really a connection between margarine and autism. Because, as you know,
is there a publication that has suggested that? Is there any scientific research?
Research, man. A whole lot of research.
I see.
You can Google it. I don't know, marine is what they call hydrogenated oil, where they move the oil from the liquid state to the solid state. But in so doing that, our body is not able to use the oil efficiently. And it causes a lot of inflammation and a whole lot of problems to our system.
Yeah.
Another oil that is not good to know is a vegetable oil. Although here they talk a lot about soybean oil.
All
and
seed
whatever.
oils, all of those seed oils.
Those oils are
So
not
sunflower
good because they
oil.
go through a lot of processing.
Yeah.
Right. The oil that is really good that they used to tell us a lot of lie about is coconut oil.
Yep.
And olive oil is pretty good. But coconut oil can
So
reach
it's an
a very
extra
high
virgin olive
temperature.
oil that they say. And avocado oil, I think, is also a useful
that
oil.
oil is good.
But there are some oils that have they easy to go rancid basically, and they will
And
cause
just rancid,
oxidative stress in the
after
body.
eating like the soybean oil after a time, it destroys the molecular structure.
Exactly,
And in
it breaks
Jamaica,
down
the
the oil. Yeah.
restaurant, they use it over and over and over again. What they do, they add like cornstarch to the oil, and it clear up, and they use it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Every time they use it, the molecular structure
Disintegrates
is damaged
further and
more
further.
more
Yeah,
because
disintegrates
it cannot
further and
stand
further.
that high heat. That temperature, while the coconut oil is better able to stand the heat.
Yeah,
And the
those oils
molecular
are more
structure is
stable.
different.
Yeah, man, I know that kind of, information on the internet, and it's very useful because back in the day we would usually go to a supermarket and we say vegetable oil, and we think it's a good thing because it marks vegetable oil, only to know
because
that
we
it's
used to
absolute
feel
rubbish.
Yeah, and what we need to do, is find people. I don't know who train people to go inside of them restaurants, because we are eating some things that are really killing us.
Well, there's
When you
no
take
doubt
all
about that.
even MSG, sir, the monosodium gluconate, seasoning salt,
Yeah.
who really decide how much of this thing the people them put in at the soup or a drink, rub on the meat, etc.
Yeah, so whenever you eat out, you have to understand and acknowledge that you are taking a huge risk because you do not have control. You do not have control because when you are preparing a meal solution at home, you control the inputs, you control the ingredients.
Right.
But when you
Another one
go,
is sodium nitrate, the one where them put for ham and bacon and sausage.
and
all
is it
of
on
those
saltfish as
things.
well?
No.
It's not
No,
on,
no,
thank
that's not
goodness.
that.
So
It's
sodium
like
nitrate.
pig steel, ham, bacon,
And like salt
sausage,
beef.
bully beef. Yes. I eat the red look and make it taste nice. But that thing is a cancer farmer, I know.
Yeah, man, I know that sodium nitrate. So the pig's tail, the salt beef,
right?
Even the same pickled mackerel. They said the salt mackerel.
I'm not so sure it's the salt mackerel.
It's not on salt mackerel.
I'm not so sure of that one. But say all the ones that were red. But then we put it on it too, because the Chinese them know Bill Gates. Bill Gates is planning to set up a salt with all of those sodium nitrate, everything in one package.
Oh, well, I don't know about that agenda. That
I saw that on Facebook.
We know Bill Gates' name called. I mean, not because something is on Facebook, it means that, the veracity of it.
I know, but it depends on, it's
there.
reputable.
Yeah. But I really like your perspectives, Chief. And you're quite right because, our people will be encouraged to essentially take stock of some of these best practices. And as a general rule, processed foods are not desirable.
Right. And you know what if our agriculture, Mr. Morgan, is to move forward, we need to start push the advantages of using our ginger or pimento, and natto is one of them where they need to carry research on. And natto. And natto is very, very rich in vitamin E. If you notice, our parents used to use annatto in oil and it never got rancid.
Oh, so it's a stabilizing agent.
Right.
All right, give me
Very,
some
very
other
powerful.
applications of annatto. Is this red something, right? It's red.
Right, red,
Yeah.
red.
It
Very
has
red. I
almost like
use
a
it
dye.
like in flitters, right?
Oh, you can use it to color food. Right.
Meat and so, yeah.
Annatto,
And they use
okay.
it a lot in Venezuela.
Okay.
Even, you know, say, even with cheese having some amount of annatto in it.
Oh, so
they
it
use
gives it
that-
some of the
that bright
coloring,
look.
the color.
Yeah.
I see.
We need to do more. And that's why I tell you people that the research in Jamaica is very, very poor. Because we have things down here that, you know, when you talk about...
Well, the thing with the research, Nakala, is that though the research may not have been undertaken here in Jamaica, any body of literature that meets academic standards and is useful and wholesome is something that we can find instructive. So whether it was done, a study done in Switzerland or a study done in Paraguay.
Point, the same point, yeah. Because we now going to have the money to carry out certain things. But if we have the people who can find the research and we work on it, you know. Turmeric, another one, we make curry. Very powerful. You know, we can make money down here. Agriculture can move forward, man. But
I quite concur. I quite concur because some of the things you are articulating there, Carla, are some of the things that Jamaica has good potential to cultivate. The turmeric, the ginger, or ginger packs a punch in terms of its potency.
Pimento. You know that even pimento leaf can be used. Because most of the time it's the pimento leaf we use.
Yeah, man, you can use the pimento leaf in your stews. So when you cook, you can actually put the pimento leaf in it. It has a useful aroma and a good flavor profile, basically.
Already jerky and all them stuff.
So basically, just like how you'd put cinnamon leaf in porridge, you can use the pimento leaf in some things that you're cooking, even rice and peas.
I have another thing, oregano. You ever hear about this? Oregano.
Yeah, man, I know oregano. Yeah.
Yeah, people have it to grow wild and not even know the importance of it.
I gather that oregano is a good thing as well. Lots of medicinal properties.
Yeah. So these are some of the things we need to work on. So Jamaica can become a very rich country if we really apply, you know.
And then, of course, you know, a lot of the nutraceuticals that we would pass, we would typically say them they are bush.
Right.
You know,
very, very powerful thing. Guinean weed.
There you go. So moringa, Guinean weed.
Moringa has in more vitamins than even milk and them stuff. Yeah, I were used in Africa to feed people who are suffering from malnutrition.
I see. So moringa has a lot of medical benefits. Yeah.
We will feed that the moringa. Very good for pressure and sugar and them stuff.
You're talking about those pods. When you break the pods and the little white membrane seed, you can have that,
and they grow easily too.
That's right. You see, you drive all about the island and you see it all about the place for true, especially here in the Kingston metropolitan area.
Yeah. They have a thing to one bush where they call neem. You know neem?
Yes, man. Neem is very good for purging, good bitters, good for purging.
Yeah, very good bitters. Very good. So, all right, sir, that's what I have to say today.
Yeah, man, I appreciate this call. What's your name, Chief?
Louis, man, I'm Mr. Edwan.
Oh, Louis. All right. Respect, Louis. I appreciate those insights because, as you're rightly saying, our health is our wealth, and we really should, you know, engage in best practices as it relates to what we consume, what we put in our bodies. Yeah? All right. Well, we are going to go to the break. When we come back at 11:10, we will have another scheduled discussion, and then we come back to the phone lines at 11:30 and take more of your calls here on Straight Up. Do stay with us. Of the University of the West Indies. Now, in this segment, listeners, we are being joined by Rosanna Pike. She is the Advocacy Officer at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, HFJ, as the advocacy officer, they're seeking to highlight and sensitize the public on this pressing issue of marketing of unhealthy foods to children. Some of you, as persons viewing traditional media and even adverts in social media, you may have seen, adverts seeking to heighten and raise awareness regarding labeling and labeling on packaging, for example. And this comes against the backdrop of childhood obesity rates that are, considered to be on the rise, and non-communicable diseases being a leading cause of death here in Jamaica, with, of course, heart disease being one of them. Now, Ms. Pike will share, among other things, as to why restrictions on the marketing of ultra-processed foods are crucial for protecting our young people in particular. She'll also emphasize the need for the school nutrition policy and an urgent push for public policy to create a healthier environment for Jamaica's children and our community as a whole. Morning, Rosanna. Welcome to Straight Up.
Hi, good morning, Marlon. How are you?
I'm good, and how are things with you?
I could never be better, thank God.
Very well. All right, so you are advocacy officer there at HA, the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. Yes?
Right.
And we know of this particular issue. I wanted to just unpack it for our listeners as to what the thrust of the ongoing campaign is, and make the point for them as to why this bit of public education and sensitization is of critical importance.
Right, sure. So the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, along some of our partners here in Jamaica, like US-Jamaica, the Caribbean Institute for Health Research, and the Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network, have the restriction of unhealthy food marketing as one of our policy priorities, because that we see that this is an area of concern, because, quite frankly, very powerful food marketing, that particularly impacts children can have, detrimental effects. So it has those behavioral impacts, cognitive impacts, and of course, you were mentioning the increasing rates of overweight and obesity in children and NCDs. Long gone, you would say, it's only old people would have, the diabetes, the hypertension, high cholesterol, etc. But now more,
they're presenting
more
earlier.
And frequent, you're seeing that children are actually having, they're being diagnosed with these non-communicable diseases. And that's why it's critical that we put policies in place to kind of create a healthy food environment to, transform it from an obesogenic environment to a healthier one for them, so that they, basically the future will be brighter for them.
Yeah, and in addition to the food-related side of the equation, you would also implore and draw attention to lifestyle-related elements, including, of course, exercise. Physical activity
because
generally.
It's a whole of society approach. So while we are imploring our policymakers to do their part, then there comes the individual responsibility and responsibility of parents and caregivers, of course, the teachers when they're at school to encourage them to make that shift in their dietary and lifestyle habits. So encourage more physical activity at home. So when we're parents and we're saying, oh, you need to go sit down or, go take your book. We need to find that, strike a balance, okay? So they do need some physical activity at least an hour every day, because, that also promotes, improvement of their social and hand-eye coordination skills, muscle movement, etc. And, of course, encouraging them to eat healthy, so engage them in the kitchen. So when you're preparing the meals for them, get them involved and teach them healthy eating habits, the nutritive value of certain foods along the way, because once you instill that knowledge in them from a tender age, they will grow up with that in the back of their minds, and it will help to influence their food preferences going forward.
And of course, what obtains at present in our children's socialization, the prevalence of devices, for example, doesn't necessarily help in that regard, does it? It makes them more sedentary.
So right, exactly. So back then, when I guess we can say we were outside doing our Chinese skip, dandy shandy, all of those. But
fly kite. Now it's kite season. We're going up into Easter.
Exactly, like it's windy, flying kite. We're making our boxy kite, or But these children, they're digital kids, so they're glued to their screens. So there's a TV screen, a tablet screen, a phone screen. All right, and they're scrolling through social media. Or they're playing their games, their Roblox, or Call of Duty, etc. So it takes away that opportunity for them to engage in physical activity and explore the world, explore their bodies that and what they're able to do in that sense.
Indeed. All right, so let's zero in on the packaging issue now, because what you're saying is that restrictions vis-a-vis the packaging of food may help to reduce rising rates of childhood obesity and, of course, NCDs, non-communicable diseases. Drill down on that some more, because we look around and we will see food items of one kind or another. We go into an establishment in the United States, you will see the calorie count in Jamaica that doesn't obtain when we go to a fast food chain, for example. So unpack that for us.
All right, sure. So read the packaging of food is in two, on two sides of the spectrum. So we're looking at the marketing. So some of the tactics used, such as the branding, product placement, the use of characters popular with children that influences them, or to want to purchase and consume those products more. And of course that also influences what we call the pester power, the nag factor, that once they see this, it's colorful, it attracts, it gets their attention, then they'll influence the parents like, mommy, daddy, I want this, I see it looks nice. And then on the other of the spectrum, like the labeling now, because what happens is that not just in Jamaica but the wider region, it's not mandatory for our food and beverage products to have the nutrition facts panel. So that's that little panel that tells you how much calories, serving, fat, salt, sugar, etc. is mandatory. It's mandatory to have the ingredients list though, but the thing is that if we can
so you're saying the nutrition facts on products
panel is not mandatory.
It's not mandatory in the Jamaican marketplace?
Right, now, nor the wider Caribbean, so there's no law that says, or no regulation that says,
so any entity that does that or carries that, products that bear that bit of data, it's essentially because the entities elect so to do.
So do exactly, right? And we have to commend companies that do that. But at the same time, you want to ensure that it's also factual. And what we are also advocating for, some policy like the front of package living to be implemented, kind of translate all of that information for persons who are not able to understand the technicalities of it.
I want to give you an example. And we cast no aspersion on any particular product. You'll recall, so I'm going to start with this one. Having regard to a certain advert on TV, I grew up learning or believing, as it were, that a particular beverage made you strong. The beverage that essentially is the food drink of champions. Yes? And I remember also in the mid to late 90s, the milk advert with Jimmy Adams. And you would have been led, an impressionable mind would have been led to believe that, yes, if you drink such and such milk, you're going to lick the ball well like Jimmy Adams. So we know that there are some of those marketing, and as I said before, we cast no aspersion on those respective products. But with us referencing the marketing tools and techniques, as it were, the tactics that are used.
Right. Yes, so you are indeed correct. And that's what we're saying, because, all of those tactics, they do have effects of, preference shaping. So create that strong brand loyalty early, making it harder for children to prefer healthier options. And of course, the impulse buying and emotional eating and, those other, and of course, you touched on it earlier as well, because it targets their vulnerabilities at a tender age, because even like relating to that ad from back then, children at that age are highly impressionable, so they're unable to discern, it's like persuasive intent of the marketing and advertising of certain foods, and beverages of minimal nutritional value. Some foods will have good nutritional value, but it's just how it is marketed. And of course, the other thing, we just need things to be implemented to kind of hold the industry accountable when they're advertising these food and beverage products, just for protecting the health of our children.
But based on your vantage point, what are some of the arguments these entities would have raised in resisting essentially the direction in which your outfit at the Heart Foundation would want the industry to go?
Okay, so in terms of the food marketing, we haven't heard any, we haven't had any pushback or resistance arguments as yet, because we've been working with other entities and we've been working with the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica to revise the content code for programming for children, and they would have met with different stakeholder groups to collect feedback and suggestions to be included in the new content code. And we haven't heard much of a pushback there, and we understand that, a lot of parties will be affected, from media houses, because of course they rely on the ads to, as a source of income. And of course, the food and beverage industry, they do need to market their products to,
in order to have a presence
sales
in the market, yeah.
Right. And then, but on the other side of the spectrum, in terms of, say, probably the labeling, that's where we probably have received most of the pushback, because, of course, there are some players in the industry that, because I can't put everyone in our box, because not all of them will be,
Yeah.
So there are some arguments that, with trade, but we're like, that's not really an argument, because there are some players or some food and beverage manufacturers who do export products and to countries that have labeling policies in place, and you do modify the label to match that market, right? And you have to modify the product to fit the criteria for that market. There's also about loss of jobs, but we use in everything we do, we use evidence.
So you're evidence-based,
data, right?
you're driven by
our
the
claims
data
and our arguments. So we use, so even not from the first world, let's look at countries within the region, such as like the Barbados, Chile, those places that have implemented said policies, and it is working. So, and it's not like we always try to say, hey, it's not like we're deterring the general public from purchasing your product. It's just that we're saying, hey, just considering putting public health first, just give people that tool to, better empower them to make more informed decisions. If a person normally has 5 sugar sweetened beverages for the week, and they say, oh, it says high in sugar, doctor said, I am on the verge of becoming diabetic. I am diagnosed with pre-diabetes. Let me put back 2, and I will have 3 instead of 5. Because at the end of the day, they're still purchasing, but it's just that they're given that tool to empower them to make more informed decisions.
Absolutely.
So, that's it. And of course, there's the National School Nutrition Policy, which is also on the agenda.
Yes, I was just going to come to that.
Finalized. So you want to intro it, or should I just
No. Well, you can go ahead, but I want you to just take my listeners through it in terms of what the National Nutrition Policy seeks to. The school nutrition policy seeks to articulate, and what it seeks to achieve ultimately.
Okay.
Though not yet in place.
Okay. So the National School Nutrition Policy currently for Jamaica is at what we call a green paper stage, and it focuses on 5 key areas that include, nutritional standards for meals provided in schools, the physical activity aspect. It also looks at the curriculum, to ensure that as part of the curriculum, children are being taught about, food and nutrition, delving into the nutritive value of foods, nutrients of concern to watch about, to look out for, and things like that. And it also takes into aspect, there's some mention of, marketing of, unhealthy products in schools, working with the vendors, because of course there's some sort of vending regulation that will be put in place to ensure that vendors who sell certain products, or vendors in general, they will not be allowed to sell products to students within a 200-meter radius of the school grounds, right? So it takes into consideration, that NCDs are a major public health issue in Jamaica, and the fact that children spend most of their days at school, and for the most vulnerable or the less fortunate, that's where, they eat a majority of their meals, and that's where they look forward to getting, what we call a nutritious meal to sustain them for the day. So it looks into all of that to ensure that the school food environment is, optimal for the development of our children.
And ideally, you would want persons who may sell in proximity to schools to have some of the healthier solutions on the stall and on the tarpaulins, but sadly that doesn't typically tend to be the case, because what happens on the part of the vendor are those little packaged snacks, the chips,
The sugar sweetened beverages, the sweet cookies, right?
And of course,
I mean,
outright candy, sweets and other forms of candy.
that's right. But to add, that, and yeah, that's why we need to remember that our vendors are major stakeholders in the conversation.
school
So we should not leave
yeah.
them out. And matter of fact, I mean, having worked with them to do vendor sensitizations before, you'd be surprised to know that a lot of them, say 95% of them, are willing to work with the policy, and they are okay. I mean, there are certain factors what drive them to, be selling the products that they sell, because they say, it's what's marketed, the economic pressures, of course. So they jump on the train basically, but they are willing to actually, shift or take away some of those unhealthy products, so the the prepackaged chips, those sweet cookies, etc., and sell more fruits and vegetables. So they are open to it. So if we just continue to do more sensitization, working with them, getting regulations in place to ensure that they meet the
from a nutrition standpoint, Rosanna Pike,
sure.
You will often hear persons, even myself included, make the point that eating healthy tends to be so exceedingly inconvenient and, of course, potentially costly. So if you think about all the solutions that are available in a supermarket that would constitute healthier eating, and when you're on the road in the daily cut and thrust of what you do, a person who works, a person who have to pick up the kids and go to home and whatnot, when you consider how the average person have to exist, there's often this complaint about the convenience side of eating healthy, and of course the financial, the socio-economics of eating healthy. I want to hear your response on that score.
Yeah, sure. And from a nutritional standpoint, we cannot deny the fact, because convenience is the way to go nowadays, because I mean it's quite challenging, to be frank, if you look at the realities of it. For a person, say, a nuclear family, to get up in the morning to prepare a nutritious breakfast, and then you have to try to beat the traffic to get to work 9 to 5, and then sit in the traffic again to come home to prepare a nutritious meal, whether it's for yourself, your family, whatsoever. So there are challenges. So you will opt for more convenient options, which we can, admit to the fact that they are cheaper. And they do taste good, right? And then, of course, with the cost, the economic impacts from, whether it's natural disasters, food shortages, and of course with the seasons. So people will always, pose those complaints, and we have to admit to, and accept the realities. So what we normally try to do, in our public education and awareness campaigns is to, be practical and share tips with people how to shop smart. Right, so embrace the frozen options of vegetables. The case that the fresh vegetables or fruits are more expensive for you at this point. If it's a case that you cannot afford the healthier version of a product, say a whole grain version of the rice or the flour. I mean, if it's just a white rice or the white flour, I like to take it down and get to the level of my audience. To say, listen, if you can't afford the whole wheat flour, you have some white flour, you want to make dumpling, all you're going to do is just enriching it with whatever nutrients might have been lost during processing. You have some carrot in your fridge, grate it and knead it in it.
And you can grate some pumpkin and put it in the flour so that make a dumpling.
Of course, see, your rice, put some callaloo in there, your frozen mixed vegetables, and you're enriching it because you're adding the vitamins and minerals that might have been lost during the processing.
Yeah, and those things do add an element of fiber as well, because that's
fiber,
what the white flour is, divest of fiber.
Exactly, and you can compare prices when you're going shopping, to say, I mean, you might be familiar with one particular brand of a product. Just, compare the prices, say, all right, I'm really on a budget, let me go for this until I can make ends meet to afford what I can. Do one-pot meals, reduce food waste, so you can use leftovers creatively. If you have some leftover bits of chicken from your rotisserie or, whatever it is from the day before, use it to make a soup. And you're right, and you'll be good to go, and don't overbuy. Sometimes we tend to always purchase more than what we need, and then we end up, having a spoilage. So those are some of the ways, don't think of it too technical, but just get, practical. Look what's in the cupboard and make use of it. Turn your hand make fashion as our
as we would say, yes, a classical Jamaican proverb. All right, want to thank you so much, Rosanna. That's where we have to leave it this morning. We thank you for your insights.
My pleasure.
In terms of this very important issue. You are seeking to get to a point where the regime is different and the regime is more progressive, as it were, in relation to having situated on food packages certain labels alerting persons, consumers, for example, to the nutritional facts.
All right. It was a pleasure speaking with you, Marlon, and do enjoy the rest of your day.
Absolutely. Same to you, Rosanna, and all the best to the team there at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica.
Thank you.
Very well. So that was Rosanna Pike, listeners. She is the advocacy officer at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, and she was speaking with us on this issue of nutrition and food packaging and labeling here in Jamaica. We're going to go to the break and come back here on Straight Up with more of your calls on 876-212-9824 or 876-462. We're back with you here on the program. You're tuned to Straight Up. Station is New Start 93 FM. I am Marlon Morgan. We are taking your calls up to the end of the program at midday. So we're essentially in the final half hour of this Thursday edition of the program. Numbers to call, 212-9824 or 462-0919. Just gonna go to a couple of the stories on the newspaper on the front page of the Gleaner. This one, which is captioned Holness Firm on Cuban Doctors. It reads, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has defended Jamaica's use of Cuban medics to support the local health sector, declaring that there is no exploitation in the program that has surfaced as a blot on the Trump administration's radar. Holness, who on Wednesday held bilateral talks with United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio at the Office of the Prime Minister, said the Cubans, more than 400 of them, support the health sector amid the consistent migration of Jamaican healthcare workers. Quoting Holness here, let us be clear. The Cuban doctors in Jamaica have been incredibly helpful to us, said Holness, who pointed to a deficit in the sector. We're, however, very careful not to exploit the Cuban doctors in our care. We ensure that they are treated within our labor laws and that they benefit like any other worker. So any characterization of the program by others certainly would not be applicable to Jamaica, he asserted. He said the government has ensured that the program operates in accordance with international labor laws and standards to which Jamaica is party. He declared Jamaica's stance amid the Trump administration's pressure on regional leaders to discontinue the Cuban Medical Mission program under its expansion of its Cuba restrictive policy. Now, there's another aspect here, another story. Rubio to reevaluate U.S. travel advisory for Jamaica. And this is another outtake from last afternoon's official visit to the United States by the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and his delegation. Now, Tanisha Mundell of the Gleaner writes, while lauding Jamaica for making, quote, expensive strides, unquote, in its crime reduction efforts, United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio has promised to reevaluate the U.S. travel advisory for Jamaica to reflect the current reality regarding crime. The U.S. State Department issued a Level 3 threat for its citizens last January, advising them to, quote-unquote, reconsider travel to Jamaica. The department revised the language of the warning in July, but maintained its concerns about crime and the medical infrastructure. However, Rubio committed to having a further assessment of the advisory during a press conference yesterday at the office of the Prime Minister in St. Andrew, following his meeting with Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. We did talk about tourism because obviously it's a significant part of your economy, and we pledged that when we go back and reevaluate the travel advisories as they currently stand, to ensure that they do reflect the reality of the new numbers and what the numbers show. And quoting Marco Rubio here again, it says, "You do make very impressive progress in your general numbers overall when it comes to the murder rate and so forth. Jamaica last year enjoyed a 19% reduction in murder when compared to the previous year, after ending the year with 1,139 murders. The country's positive streak in its murder reduction has continued, with the country recording a 30% reduction in March when compared to the same period last year." Against that backdrop, Rubio added, quote, "I think we need to analyze that and just ensure that the status we're currently in accurately reflects the status quo and takes into account the progress you have already made this year and made last year, year over year, which I think is one of the highest numbers in terms of reductions that we've seen of any country in the region." So that's essentially the basis on which the Secretary of State in the United States, Marco Rubio, is signaling and giving an undertaking to revisit. Note I didn't say revise. They are revisiting, they are going to be reassessing, and we will see ultimately the determination that is made by Washington. Because Jamaica, having regard to the premium that we place on our tourism product, will do well with, travel advisories that are more, complimentary and are less harsh on Jamaica, especially based on the heavy lifting that we've been doing over the period, the investments that have been made in the national security and crime management front, on the crime management front, and the results that it has been yielding so far. Now, there's every indication that the meeting was successful yesterday, and we look forward to continued collaboration with the United States, because we know that this is a time of heightened anxiety for many. Yes, heightened anxiety because of the, Trump administration's posture as it pursues its strategic imperatives. And we appreciate that our friends in the United States are a sovereign outfit. Trump has a mandate from the American people. He is handling his affairs. He's attending to America's business. And similarly, here in Jamaica, we have to do likewise and attend to our business and get our house in order. And that's the key thing where that is concerned. We have a call on the line. Remember, we have lines available, callers, 212-9824, and there's also 462-0919. Morning, welcome to Straight Up.
Morning, Marlon.
Morning, caller. I'm good. And you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Boy, I tell you, how we can have this country that the PNP don't keep you, them, Virgin. You see the man confused, Virgin?
Why is it confused?
Oh, you mean then Marlon, the man stand up in the Parliament Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I can say he didn't really present a budget.
Budget wasn't a budget in the real sense.
In the real sense, it wasn't presented is what they said they were doing in the first year of government. What they take them people on the building? And we can't tell you something out there in the Marlon. Like a man on the ground out there in the Marlon. A fact is,
Yes, fact.
The PNP leader, not so big, because where we are here on the ground, because Uncle Marlon.
Yeah.
Right now, the MP and the candidate were Mark Golding selected, Everybody are trying to win their seat. Nobody not sure about him, and I'm going to. And we up in our PNP, that's a come from, I will hear later on.
You're saying irrespective candidates, based on what you're picking up, are just focused on their own initiative.
So one constituency in the Belgium, we can win a seat, what I know. You know, so today one big meeting is supposed to keep all the man live with us. With Donovan Mitchell. You know, so that's a bit postponed though.
Really? What are the reasons proffered for its postponement?
No, they don't put out a reason, then say it's postponed, and then we update them further. But listen, Road of Mike Crawford, the Methodist, man, they go to church, you know, but Marlon, but the Methodist have a song where they sing and in book, you know.
Yes.
So revive their work, oh Lord, man, you know that song there. And we just speak out as the show, so see, Road of Mike Crawford, as revived in the budget, and she hold like everything to the last Sunday in our meeting, you know.
Oh yes, there was a meeting of the party workers
well
on the 16th of March.
Yeah, and we would have to carry people from the whole 63 constituency go down there. Man, the people them. And let me tell you, maybe some people are applying out and I tell analysts, oh, this seat will lose, that seat is going to lose, including Road and Mike Crawford. Marlon, we just want to go out here, and a defense is there here. You hear me say? Andrew Wallace and the Jamaica Labour Party is well in tune to enter into Jamaica House.
Hear anybody out on the streets discussing the budget? Share with me, Fox, as to...
Yes, imagine.
Well,
a lot of people out here.
What are you picking up in relation to commentary out in the streets in relation to the budget just passed?
Alright, never tell you the truth, man. Never tell you the truth. And that's our anti-favor. She get a thumbs up. People are saying that she makes some very good initiatives, especially what take really for people when they gravitate out here. And when she said, this young girl from Dissected. Dissected community name, right? Not St. Ann?
No, it's in St. Catherine.
Oh, St. Catherine, yes.
Northwest St. Catherine, yeah.
Right. So the people out on the bed talk about favor will come from Dissected. You understand? With water on his head. And I'm telling me, Virgin, a lot of us in rural Jamaica. And some people who live in town and, you know, evolve their life, they go through it too. A lot of people gravitate into that. However, you know, turn all of it, you know, but what you know. And when the time is come with, we can't talk about Mark Going because we already one Mark Going. Come to the parliament with a budget and not with high C report and vote money and them still go down all along.
It's a vote money. So vote money, you know, is a part of what is being banked on, as it were.
Yes, vote money. No mind on the thing. Don't try Cartel, don't try L.A. Lewis, don't try Ralph Gonzalez. No, don't go on high.
Remember that they tried Richard Curry too.
I remember. So I want to say, and I say this to say, the PNP is out of touch and out of ideas. And when Mark Going to do yesterday, after I'm talking at the Parliament Tuesday, we go back and hope we just say, we go back at the opposition place, just say yesterday, say, oh, team cost a budget will cost 24 or 20-something billion per year. A foolish thing come and tell people, imagine, after you don't tell me, say, and your manifesto you bring across a country when you farm government. So we have to, because a big business, you don't know the difference between a budget, a man have a household to run. You don't know the difference between a budget and a plan, a manifesto plan.
Well, put it this way, one of the things I've realized in recent times, Fox, is that there's a degree of convenience where we're one thing in one instance and we're another thing in another instance. So there's an instance in which Mark Golding would like to stand on the fact that he was a player in the financial services sector. And there's another instance in which he would want to feign ignorance or suggest that he is not aware of certain things, which is why I favor in explaining something on Tuesday about the sale of Norman Manley International Airport's receivables. Mark Golding, as a financial man, would know fully well about, but he, for political purposes, was framing it in a negative way.
But man, be honest with you, time I'm just still but be honest with you.
Yeah, man, you have 30 seconds.
Well, I know things I'm not going on the party in the bedroom. And the new talk out on the bedroom.
As I said to John a while ago, I can't engage in a speculation because that kind of thing is what
All
we
right,
can discuss, you know,
Yes,
on the
yes, but yeah,
veranda and social media.
Yes, let me
But,
tell you,
so
let me
you have
have
your
more.
views as to what's happening.
Yes, this little man named Vincent Morrison. Vincent, the trade union man there.
Yeah.
We're saying he sit on minimum wage board. Tell Vincent Morrison, he said, the ordinary little man out and I want to hear nothing from him. Vincent Morrison, the card carried member of the PNP. In the run, one artist with against Nikhil Philip comes and withdraw. So a couple of years ago, when Nikhil Philip were going to take over that constituency. We don't want to hear nothing from Vincent. So no, I can't talk about $1,000 a slap in our face. Yeah, man, you want to come the other day.
I'm going to read out the minimum wage in a bit. Thank you, though, Fox. Thank you for your insights.
Tell the Prime Minister we thank him, man. 1,000 better than nothing, my bedroom, because over here, you know, get nothing.
All right. All the best, Fox. All right, good morning, caller. Welcome to... Hello, good morning. Welcome to Straight Up.
Hello?
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Morning, Marlon.
Yes, sir. Morning. How are you?
Your sound is very low, so I can't hardly hear you.
Oh, well, let us try and see if we can. Well, let us see if we can turn it up on our end. Is this any better?
Turn it up a little bit more, Marlon.
Probably the connection, but...
Yeah, man. Yeah. Marlon.
Yes, Chief. Go ahead.
I was watching a deal of news this morning in America. And you know, whenever Trump is in office, is that you have to watch because you know when joke and stupidity is going to be uttered. So you watch. And where some lawyer companies were saying that
yeah, man, we're hearing you. Some law firms are saying that what? Oh, we seem to have lost. He's still on the...
no. Is Jamaica catch it?
No, hold on. Start over, Al.
But he's not coming.
Hold on. Al, start back with the point you were making about the law firms in the United States.
The law firm is now under threat that Trump is going to lock them down.
Okay.
And lock up whosoever participate in defending anyone in America against him. This is kind of free word.
I see.
Now Vincent Morrison is now being centered and being attacked by Fox. And anybody who speaks out against the government, it is the same thing that is happening in America. That's why the dictatorship.
You heard John this morning in relation to Audrey Marks.
On the road for dictatorship. Here is it.
No, but Al, you heard John this morning in terms of disparaging references to Audrey Marks.
I didn't listen to the program this morning.
Okay, noted.
Right. I am saying that when you hear utterances like these coming from uneducated, unsolicited, and Michael Manley was to create Jamal because of these people, and Andrew removed it, put long life learning, aside Eddie moved National Youth Service and create heart. These guys need to go back because we live in a technological advanced age, AI. So these guys like all Fox, they were carrying news for the JLP. They are not good news carriers.
Oh, so Al's news alone is a premium news.
The JLP look dunce and dunce each year. I can tell you why now. Listen to this. Here is it. That my friend, that I don't disrespect women, as I said in all of my commentary. I like Favor because she gave a chronological background as to upbringing and her mother and
she's not a tapanaris, right? She carry cut up on her head and she tied up in a bad pan.
Hello, let me just make the point.
Yeah, man.
Marlon. When you come out in the public as a woman, you must be credible, not only in your dress, as a dressing, but in your
utterances. Yes.
You know that you sat in that parliament. You was minister under Ardisha Jr. And you know the fiscal rules and policies about how much money can be spent and how much cannot spend in terms of what you call overrunning the budget or excessive use, what you call...
not overrun, a fiscal deficit. Right. A fiscal deficit.
You know that. So when you come out and you tell the public so how the budget overrun by $204 and $264 billion, you know it's not true. because there are policy laws that govern 3.3%, 0.9% the next year, and 0.9% the next year, and 0.3 next year. You know that.
No, but that's the point. But remember how a law works, Al. Remember how a law works. The law, the law, based on the government's use of fiscal policy, the law may be broken. It ought not to be broken, but an irresponsible government may end up breaking the law based on what its promises are and what it is boxed into doing.
When you promise nurse thing there,
Edith Alwood Anderson.
Well, no. When you promise nurse thing there, Ascot, Alwood, so you got double them salary.
Yeah, man. Edith, I gave you the name a while ago, Al. Edith Alwood Anderson.
Alwood Anderson, so you double them salary. And then when you realize that you couldn't double them salary, come out and say, a joke you didn't make. That's the kind of government that was in this country, but the PNP has never done that to people.
Oh.
So based on history, no, not talking to people.
So the PNP don't promise to double salaries. What they do is dispose people at mud lakes.
So that's what?
What they do instead is to dispose of people in mud lake.
I'm glad you said that. Yes, you know why I'm glad you said that?
Yeah.
I work at Denhampton police station.
Yes.
And for 10 years I couldn't lock up anybody across the road. And America take America to carry plane and ship come over for getting there.
Oh, right. So that's what you wanted.
When you have your own laws and rules and cemetery and government as president, where you have movie traps to kill police and soldiers, and where police station in Hanaton was burned down, and with wild gun west shoot up on crossroad to the whole army to watch get killed. That's what you wanted, and that's
so how about Green Bay? You want to tell us about Green Bay? You want to tell us all about Green Bay while you're at the history lesson?
Papa Jesus, I never really like what I was saying. No, I was touching to one. Hold, but I was touching my friend.
What I'm saying, Al.
I talk to you, Marlon, and I know. Marlon,
yeah, man.
How you really talk, this when I really talk, that's why you're not to challenge me, no, Marlon. But I will tell you, that's the reality of our country.
So you are two people in one, Al, because I know Halver in July, and then I know Al.
Yeah.
So you are two in two and the same.
You don't know the difference between Marlon and Al.
No, me don't know. You have to help me, my brother.
No, you could have expect somebody could have read off your history and give you so. And if you continue, him will give you more. But anyway, my friend, me know tomorrow I'm going to put your program. Let me say this to you. Marlon, when...
No, what I'm going to ask you to do...
In a budget,
yeah.
You must do so point for point.
Yes, that's true.
And you must come with answers that tells that is so constructive that what the person had said, you make sure so you answer it directly and make sense that your answer and your solution is what will be acceptable. What Sister Favor came with, I talk about 34,000 car and home mark and them wanted to discredit US-Jamaica. It's not true. It's what she said. She was discrediting pro boxes because she said $72,000 for it. If you see $74,000.
She said the down payment, Al.
Right, down payment. But nobody will take that to down payment. And you know that, Marlon.
She says towards the down payment.
In a car business for years.
So you're in a police business, you're in a car business, any other business? Any other business?
So when you're doing rebuttal, you must come up with concrete answers.
Alright, what I'm going to urge you to do, Al, there's an event here on the Mona campus later this evening. You talk about rebuttal just now, you'll see some rebuttal ensuing this evening. So come and join us at the UA Library this evening, the multifunctional room I think it is, at 6 o'clock. The Department of Economics here at UA, they are putting it on. It will be Julian Robinson of the PNP versus, there you go, versus a certain man.
Yeah, man, and guess what?
Anyway, I have to run now, Al. All the best, my brother.
You know you have to run. They're going to say this to you.
We'll talk to you another time. My producer is giving me the wrap-up signal.
Rising stars in financing and economics in this part of the Western as
well. Oh, Julian is what kind of star?
Yeah, man. We'll talk tomorrow.
All right, Al. Julian is a rising star. We'll see if he's a rising star. All right, we have come to the end of the program. I want to thank our guests for today. I want to thank our